I'm going to welcome up to the stage Emily Williams and Stephen Voss. I love the popularity.
I know, we all watch the election.
Emily Williams, if you want to take a seat, and then I think I'll read your bios, and then I think you come up. Emily Williams, Transport for New South Wales Director, Electrical Commissioning, Network System Delivery, Infrastructure and Place. Having worked in the UK coordinating and planning major blockades for Jarvis Rail, before moving on to the $375 million rugby remodelling project. The remodelling project was part of the West Coast upgrade. Rugby was rebuilt and extensively remodelled to provide additional capacity, increased speed and improved maintainability. Emily moved to Australia in 2011, joining Lang O'Rourke's on the Nova Rail Alliance. She was responsible for implementing a new resource management system that crucially assisted in all forward planning, ensuring that staff had the appropriate skills and experience, effectively planning for the types of resources needed to deliver the $1.2 billion of work across a multitude of projects. Most recently, as the Director of Electrical and Network Asset for Transport for New South Wales, Emily supported the successful commissioning and integration of Transport for New South Wales electrical assets into service, assisting all projects requiring access to the rail corridor, which included isolations of the network's LV, HV and 1500 volts, and now delivering the final phase of the Electrical Learning Centre at Chullora. So the second speaker we have is Stephen Voss, Transport for New South Wales, Learning Facility Specialist, Substation Learning and Development, People and Culture. Steve started his journey with the railways in January 2006 as a substation apprentice with Railcorp and moved into the renewals team at the end of 2009. Steve transitioned into the major works group of Sydney Trains in 2013, building and maintaining Sydney Trains substations and learning how to navigate the diverse range of characters employed in the railways. In July 2021, Steve was appointed Transport's Learning Facilitator Specialist for substations. Steve is a self-confessed substation nerd, and that'll be the first one I've met, who loves to learn, has found a passion for teaching, particularly as his career has progressed and seeing new staff begin their apprenticeships where he once started. Steve believes that there is an immense amount of knowledge and skills contained within the rail industry, and the role he has with Transport at the Electrical Learning Centre at Chullora allows him to contribute to passing on his knowledge for the benefit of all. Welcome, and I think we'll start the presentation.
I do think we have a short video that we'd like to play.
I'm John Brown. I've been in the rail industry with Transport for New South Wales now for 45 years. And basically my role is as a mentor. One of the reasons I've stuck around for so long, this industry and Sydney Trains offers enormous opportunities.
Well, my name's Steve. I started on the railway in 2006, so I've been here 16, 17 years now. I got a job as the substations trainer. So we've got this facility, the learning centre here, and a bunch of substation equipment. And I'm trying to pass on some of the stuff I've learned over the last 17 years in this career to the new staff coming through.
So the Electrical Learning Centre comprises of three areas. There's the indoor substation, the 16 volt switches, and then the high voltage area outside. We've been fortunate enough to use Sydney Trains apprentices that have been used to build the centre and have gained qualifications while doing so.
So the repurposed equipment's come from all over the network.
Yeah, that's correct.
And drawing down on the two alliances, and they've also added to some equipment that's going to build and extend the centre in the future. Reggie, you've been part of the Learning Centre since the start, and I know you've helped Emily along the way. The theme of this year's PWI is doing more for less. How did you do more for less here?
Well, look, young Emily did come to me with a bit of a shoestring budget, but we've been very focused on costs, looking at what we can recycle as much as possible to ensure that Transport for New South Wales has the minimal spend on this project. Look, that's been fundamental to the success, and what you see today has been the team working really hard through the Next Rail Alliance, and we're happy to help.
And I've also seen you leave a legacy. Reggie and Emily,
You know what?
the two transformers will be seen for years to come by hundreds of apprentices, I'm sure.
Thank you. Firstly, I'd just like to acknowledge the whole team for their vision, passion and determination in making the Electrical Learning Centre more than just a dream. This centre will allow staff to learn valuable skills in a controlled and safe environment. What we're creating at the Electrical Learning Centre will be in place for many years to come. This all started when it was identified that there was a critical resource shortage in the area of accredited electrical personnel. Currently, training and assessments have to be conducted in the live operating environment and typically require training to be undertaken on weekends and between the hours of midnight and 4 a.m. Training in the live environment is also a risk to customers, as any equipment that does not successfully return to service can create train delays. Additionally, it is avoidable wear and tear on the equipment, which lessens the lifespan of many electrical assets. This situation has provided insights into the limitations of the current training design. Learners are required to complete a number of tasks on several occasions, and typically there is a minimum 2-week lead time between each training intervention. Often, the planned training and/or assessments can be cancelled as a result of more pressing operational requirements. The solution was found to create the Electrical Learning Centre at Chullora that provides competency-based training and assessment for accredited workers, a blended approach to structured training and assessment, and that has equipment that replicates and recreates the electrical operating environment. There are 3 main sections to the Electrical Learning Centre. The substation is where we have a wide range of different equipment in the indoor area, and a control voltage will be applied for training purposes. We can perform many of the substation switching activities in a simulated environment. Staff can also do maintenance and installation activities exactly as in the field without the network restrictions I mentioned earlier. The next section is the 1500 volt outdoor area. This is capable of being energised at operating voltage by a test supply from within the substation at the Electrical Learning Centre. This area can also be used for Sydney Trains, traction and substation switching re-accreditations, and forms an integral part of the substation high voltage switching training programme. And finally, the outdoor area, which is modelled off of a Sydney Trains traction substation, and while this equipment is not capable of being energised at high voltage, it is connected to a control voltage and can operate the same way as in a live substation. With the completion of the outdoor area, which is scheduled in December, we will simulate installation and maintenance activities on a wide range of equipment, further increasing our ability to progress staff training alongside network restrictions. On the topic of doing it better with less, Completing this build, we have been successful in being able to acquire the majority of this equipment from Sydney Trains, System Spares and/or life expired equipment, which has had a huge savings of approximately $2 million. And on this note, I'll pass you over to Steve Voss. You're welcome.
Hi. My name's Steve Voss. I'm the Learning Facilitator Specialist for Substations with Transport. That's a fancy way of saying I manage the substations training. So I guess just a little bit about myself, because I just found out what the PIW was recently, so it's nice to be here. When I finished high school, I didn't know what to do with my life and got accepted into uni, took a year off, worked a couple of jobs, saved a bit of money and spent it all. And by the time I got to uni, I decided it wasn't for me. And it was actually my mother who told me about an ad in the paper for a job with the railway, and I landed in substations. So we always say, you know, someone's a lifer in this industry if they remember by heart the date they started. And on January 3rd, 2006, I arrived at Petersham Training College for my first day on the railway as a substations apprentice. So I just want to acknowledge that I wouldn't have been invited to speak here today if not for the support and mentoring, guidance and assistance of some of the incredible people that I've been lucky enough to work with in this industry. I met Sam pretty early on in my apprenticeship, and I've been working pretty extensively with Emily's team lately, and we're doing some pretty cool things out at Chullora. So realising I'm in between you guys and the pub, I'll just whip through this and we'll keep the questions to a minimum. So Chullora's got a rich history in the New South Wales Railway, and many people here today would have started their careers out there. The College of Knowledge, you know, it's legendary, and across many disciplines within the rail industry, it seems that Chullora has always been a place of training, a place of learning, a place of skill sharing. Mr. Hickey said maybe not the signals for skill sharing, but a place that prepares staff for the demands of these jobs. And I've been thinking about that a lot as the ELC nears completion. So, you know, we're creating more than just a building full of substation equipment for training. We're creating a place for staff to learn. We're building a solution to collate and hold on to and share and pass on the invaluable knowledge that would otherwise be lost to promotions and retirements and everything else that comes with the general passing of time. So one of my favourite things about this project has been working with some of the more experienced staff, and I've been told not to use the word older, but a lot of the help we've got out there are from older staff who've done some time on the railway. And you know, I'm 37 now, and my younger sister says I can't call myself a young man anymore. But I'm not an old man, and there's people in this room with more experience than I've been alive. You know, so we've noticed a tremendous sense of ownership in the training content we're developing, and in particular in the infrastructure we're installing out there. It doesn't physically belong to these people, but without them, it's a yard full of metal and plastic and parts. And without these knowledgeable and experienced staff teaching us how to install this stuff and teaching us how it works, it's not infrastructure, it's just stuff. So we've got a lot of knowledge to capture, and we've been pleasantly surprised to find that with these contributions the staff are making out at Chullora, and with all the help we're getting across this industry to build this facility, there's a sense of pride, and it's a pretty good initiative to be a part of. I haven't been excited about a job for a while, and this is a really exciting time for me as the substations trainer. So I'll give you guys a brief rundown of the ELC. Emily whipped over it. So we love our acronyms. ELC is the Electrical Learning Centre, And we've put it out at Chullora, just because that's the only piece of land the railway seems to own that we can use. It's getting pretty tight in the city, but without wanting to repeat Emily, we've got a range of substation infrastructure, including indoor and outdoor high voltage and 1500 volt switchgear and equipment, along with low voltage auxiliary and DC battery equipment to replicate exactly what our students would find out in the field. So this is a full suite of equipment that you would find in a given substation on the Sydney Trains network, and we use this equipment to teach and assess essential knowledge and skills required within Sydney Trains. We're aligning this with nationally recognised qualifications at the moment so that the training we provide is not only relevant to the business but will be recognised across the country. We also have a first of its kind in the country virtual reality program in a dedicated room within the facility, and we prepare students for high voltage switching training here. So they're able to plug in and perform a substation isolation completely outside of the usual dangers of working in a live sub. And the activity is modelled on one of the most essential switching operations that our staff need to do. So they can practice as much as they need to in a safe learning environment before the pressures of performing this task live are introduced. Stuff like this never existed when I started on the railway, and it's pretty exciting to be around while we're investing in this. And you know, the money that Emily has saved in this end of life and out of service equipment, which we've installed for training, is it's just a pretty good thing. I'm excited to be here, and it's been a strange feeling setting up a desk at Petersham Training College, where I started 17 years ago, and I'm in a pretty good position now with a good support network to start compiling this knowledge and skill within the industry that we need to move our railway forward. So the ELC it's a building out at Chullora, but there's something pretty special happening out there. There's a pile of metal and plastic and parts, and we've taken knowledge and skill from within this industry, and we can define that stuff as infrastructure. The knowledge and skill we're collecting comes from this industry, and it belongs in this industry, and we're going to share it in this industry to future-proof the transport network, which has been so good to me over my career, and by the look of it, it's been pretty good to you too. So that's all. Thanks.
I'm hoping the mic there works. Thank you very much. That was very interesting. It's not an area I know a lot about, so I've certainly learnt something today, and appreciate your work and appreciate your team's work. Good spirit. Microphone circulating. I'm hoping someone can help out. This is so far out of my expertise that I'm going to struggle to think of too many questions. Is Petersham going to close completely, or so? But the electrical will all go over to Chullora. Okay. And how many people will you train a year?
Okay, sure.
I do need to give you a mic.
Yeah, the demand at the moment is I've got 47 substation apprentices at the moment, and I guess when we finish this facility, we'll be looking at probably 20 to 40 people per year to put through the program, and we'll see what the industry does with those people.
So how big is the substation team on the network?
I've got approximately 230 authorised operators. So that's people within the substation team who are authorised to operate the high voltage equipment. So all 230 of those need yearly reaccreditations and also need to be upskilled as the industry advances, and we'll take care of most of their training needs out at the Learning Centre at Chullora.
I wanted to ask about the equipment. What's the range of equipment that's out in the field? Are there a lot of legacy systems out there in equipment, or is it reasonably modern and standardised?
It's a great question. About 7 years ago, I had to change the oil in a bulk oil circuit breaker at Hurstville substation before that was upgraded. So this is 2015. We dropped the tank on the circuit breaker, and there was a brass plaque riveted inside the breaker, and it said installed 1947. So, and that was just 7 years ago. So we've got some pretty old stuff on the network. But, just a couple of years ago, we installed some new Schneider Premset miniature 11 kV switchgear at Town Hall substation. So there's a whole range, but it's kind of cool having a lot of this old and end of life equipment out at Chullora, because I get to teach these students these basic switchgear principles, and we can pull them apart and physically see all of this stuff and how it works. And it's like I get to teach them about a carburettor, and then we move on to fuel injection. It's cool. So we're in contact with the Sydney Trains asset management team, and we've got some brand new system spares in the ELC as well. So we're upgrading our DCCBs within the Sydney Trains network. We've got Hawker Siddeley safe bond breakers and this new Secheron DCCB. I haven't actually even seen one yet, but we're talking with asset management to have the system spare at the ELC, so that we can teach students about the current equipment on the network as well.
So will you train them ahead of those being implemented on the system, or is it a bit tail wagging the dog?
It's a tricky one. There's a lot of projects on at the moment, and I think there's some being put into service pretty soon. So I'll just have to incorporate those into the training package, and anyone who's been in before that can just come and learn as they need to.
So do you have one of everything?
If I had one of everything, I think we'd need the entire suburb of Chullora. We've got a couple of different system voltages. So we run 11 kV for general reticulation. We have 33 and 66 kV, and there's a 132 kV bulk supply at Heathcote as well. But that's only 4 voltages, but there are over 100 different types of circuit breaker on the network in and around that area. So it's not entirely practical to teach people about every single item, but I'll just teach them how to change the oil, and they'll go out and learn the rest.
So given the difficulty of the safety environment when you actually work out of that, the adaptation when you go from being an apprentice training on just some of the systems that they come out, what do they do when they come across something in the field where they just go, I've never seen that, I have no idea? Is that
normally they just ring me and ask me why I didn't train them on it. There is a lot of experience within this industry that is up here and isn't written down, and it's been Sam doesn't work for Sydney Trains anymore, and I ring him pretty regularly to ask him about stuff. His name's in a lot of my training material, so there's just a lot of experience within this industry, and if you know who to ask, you can get any question you want answered. So I'm training people how to operate equipment, and I'm ringing up asking around, because there's still things on the network that I've never operated before, and so it's been pretty interesting coming into this training role and realising that I'm still very much a student as well.
I can imagine it's a very tight-knit community. I've actually got a question for you, Sam. You don't work for the railways anymore. How did you find the skills? Did the skills transfer out, or have you gone into a different...
Oh, he's definitely still working on the railway.
Oh, he's still in the railway.
In a different company, but it's a really tight-knit community. Like, I'm more than happy to... I don't care what colour your shirt is or what it says on the front. If you know the answer to my question, I'll ring you. So.
Does anyone else have any questions from the audience? It's not far. It's one block up that way. It's very close. And it's very soon, actually. The clock says 3:02. But I think if we've finished the questions, I'd just like to thank you both for that. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, thanks for having us.